Part 11. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Chao Ji Peng. Chapter 102. After Xuanhuan spat out a mouthful of blood on the talisman, the runes on the talisman flickered and seemed to become clearer. But after spitting out this mouthful of blood, Xuanhuan's face suddenly turned extremely pale. Soon. But when he looked at the clearer talisman, a hint of excitement appeared in his eyes. This mysterious talisman was the basis for his ability to refine and conquer the Earth Scourge Mother Insect. So like the scene just now, he has done it many times in the past few days, although doing so will make his body extremely weak and even damage his foundation. But as long as he can refine and conquer the Earth Scourge Mother Insect, all these efforts now will be worth it. Jingle. Suddenly, the bell in the secret room rang softly. Xuanhuan frowned, but he still stood up and rubbed his face with his hands to remove the pale color from his face, then opened the secret room door and walked out. Why, did something happen in the town? After arriving in the hall, Xuanhuan frowned when he saw Zhu Qiang waiting here. Zhu Qiang is not very powerful, but he is a very capable subordinate of his. Before he retreated, he had already said that if there was no big deal, don't disturb him. With Zhu Qiang's ability to do things, he must have come to him only when he encountered something that he couldn't handle. Lord, I just left the town and met Chen Ronghuo from Xiahe village outside. Seeing Xuanhuan, Zhu Qiang immediately told what happened. After he left, he naturally would not go to Huangtaizheng immediately as he said. In fact, after walking out of the restaurant, he immediately came to the Lord's mansion. Chen Ronghuo. When he heard Chen Ronghuo's name, Xuanhuan's eyes flashed, revealing a bit of surprise. After he learned from Poisonous Shadow that Chen Ronghuo might come to their town, although he had some expectations, he did not expect that Chen Ronghuo would come so soon. After pondering for a moment, he said, "Go and notify Huangtaizheng and Hosan immediately, and let them meet first. I still have some things to deal with. I will go to see him after they are finished." Good. Zhu Qiang agreed, quickly retreated without saying a word. He didn't know what else Xuanhuan was busy with, but this was not something he should ask about. After Zhu Qiang left, Xuanhuan immediately returned to the secret room, took out a healing medicine and took it. He already knew that Chen Ronghuo was a second-level warlock, so naturally he would not go to see Chen Ronghuo when he was extremely weak. Although this healing medicine cannot completely cure his weakness caused by excessive blood loss, it can still make his body better. Sorry, I thought Commander Huang was practicing before, so I went directly to the training place. I didn't expect that they were all at home. In the restaurant, Chen Ronghuo waited for more than 10 minutes before Zhu Qiang brought Huangtaizheng and Hosan. It doesn't matter. Chen Ronghuo smiled. Then he set his sights on Huangtaizheng and Hosan. Huangtaizheng, early Earth warrior. Loyalty, 95. Status, deeply poisoned, the poison is suppressed by the medicine, but the antidote must be taken at regular intervals. Hosan, peak of warrior realm. Loyalty, 94. Earth War Ape bloodline awakening degree 77%. When he saw that the two people's loyalty to him had not weakened, he spoke again, "It's just that we have eaten and drank enough, and my time is really tight. I won't be able to stay long before I have to go back to Xiahe village. So next, let's just go for a walk outside. I also wanted Xiaoshan to have a good look at Lushwiven town, so I wouldn't stop chatting in this restaurant." Zhu Qiang was startled. I didn't expect that Chen Ronghuo's time was so urgent. As soon as they met Huangtaizheng and Hosan, they actually mentioned that they would leave soon. However, he had no choice but to say, "Wherever you want to go, just tell Commander Huang." Commander Huang has been in our town for these days and is already familiar with most places. I know you haven't seen each other for a long time and you must have a lot to say, so I won't bother you. "Thank you Master Zhu," This time I really trouble Master Zhu. Chen Ronghuo replied politely, with a strange look in his eyes, and then said, in addition, when we leave, we will not say goodbye to Master Zhu again. But this time, Mr. Zhu and I hit it off like old friends. I hope we can have another chance to meet again in the future. When Zhu Qiang heard this, he immediately laughed and said, me too. Afterwards, he said a few words to Chen Ronghuo, then said goodbye and left. Master. After Zhu Qiang left, Huang Taizheng and Ho San came forward and looked at Chen Ronghuo with doubts. They didn't know why Chen Ronghuo came here with only Li Haishui. In Lushwiven town, Chen Ronghuo naturally wouldn't say much. He just said, Xiaoshan misses you, so I will bring him to see you. But we won't stay here for long, so you can take us for a walk. Good. Huang Taizheng and Ho San also knew that this was not the place to talk, so they agreed, took Chen Ronghuo and others downstairs, and started walking casually in Lushwiven town. As he walked, Chen Ronghuo used the identification skills of ancient books to identify everything he saw. Huang Taizheng held Huang Xiaoshan in his arms. The grandfather and grandson had not seen each other for a long time, so they naturally had a lot to say. In addition, Ho San interrupted from time to time, but he did not seem silent. Mr. Huang, take me to the vicinity of the Lord's mansion. After walking for a while, Chen Ronghuo suddenly spoke. The main purpose of his coming here this time was to take a look at the Lord's mansion in Lushwiven town. Huang Taizheng and Ho San were moved when they heard this. But neither of them said anything, but silently took Chen Ronghuo and walked towards the direction of the city Lord's mansion. The location they were in was very close to the Lord's mansion in Lushwiven town, so it didn't take long for the group to arrive next to the Lord's mansion. Xuanhuan's Lord's mansion is located in the center of Lushwiven town. The Lord's mansion is surrounded by walls. You can only see some things inside from the open gate. When several people passed by the Lord's mansion, Chen Ronghuo followed the open gate and glanced inside, and immediately saw that there was a large square in the Lord's mansion. However, this square was not his purpose this time. When his eyes swept across the square, he immediately fell on a statue standing in the center of the square. That statue was exactly the same as Xuanhuan's body. At the same time, this was also the real purpose of Chen Ronghuo's coming here this time. Xuanhuan's deified statue, a statue blessed by the gods with divine power, which can absorb and store the power of faith in the territory on behalf of the Lord himself. The power of faith can accelerate cultivation. At the same time, when the Lord is in the territory, he can consume the power of faith and temporarily enhance his strength. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 103. The power of faith can actually temporarily enhance the Lord's strength. After identifying the attributes of Xuanhuan's deified statue, Chen Ronghuo immediately frowned. But while he was frowning, he also knew that he had indeed come to the right place this time. Because Huang Lin had inherited the Mongadu Black Emperor Snake, and because Shamao had greatly improved in strength, he had an idea in his mind. That is the idea of whether Xuanhu can be eliminated directly and then Lushwiven town can be taken as his own. Xiahe village is too small after all. Even if he becomes a lord, how long will it take to develop Xiahe village? If nothing else, population alone is a problem. However, after identifying the attributes of Xuanhuan's deified statue, he had to give up this idea. Haha, Mr. Huang, is this Huang Xiaoshan's master Chen Ronghuo? At this moment, a loud laugh rang out, and the group following Chen Ronghuo saw Xuanhu walking out of the Lord's mansion at this moment. Seeing Chen Ronghuo and others looking at him, Xuanhu strode over and laughed loudly. I heard from Zhu Qiang that brother Chen is here. I wanted to go there immediately, but I couldn't let go of some things and wasted a little time. I hope brother Chen can forgive me. He was wearing a white robe, his face was rosy, and he didn't look weak at all. Zhou Yuanhua, mid-level second level warrior, early level second level water sorcerer. Status, weak due to excessive blood loss. It's just that Zhou Yuanhua's disguise has no effect at all in Chen Ronghuo's eyes. A strange color flashed in his eyes. He wondered how Zhou Yuanhua could lose too much blood and become weak even though he was staying well in Greenwater Baytown. What did the Lord say? But on the surface, he did not show any abnormality. He smiled slightly and said, neither humble nor arrogant, I came here this time because the time is urgent. Otherwise, I should be the one to see the Lord. Yes. But when Chen Ronghuo spoke, Zhou Yuanhua also had a strange look in his eyes after walking into Chen Ronghuo. Following this strange color, it quickly changed into a ray of cold light. But then he seemed to have thought of something again, shaking his head quietly and saying, Brother Chen, can't you really stay a little longer? To be honest, I have heard Mr. Huang mention you many times. I have really admired your name for a long time and have long wanted to meet you. What he said was not a lie, but every time Huang Taizheng mentioned Chen Ronghuo, he was the one who jumped up to the topic. I really can't. I really have something important to do in Xiahe village. Chen Ronghuo didn't notice anything unusual about Zhou Yuanhua. He said, but wait until next time. Next time I come, I will definitely stay longer. Zhou Yuanhua sighed, okay, since you said so, I won't stay any longer. But next time, you must leave more time. Also, in my Lushwiven town, Brother Chen can go wherever he wants. Thank you very much, Lord. Chen Ronghuo smiled. This time, the two people can only be regarded as meeting each other for the first time. But they all behaved very familiarly, as if they were old friends. But in their own hearts, both of them also had various thoughts. Then, Zhou Yuanhua chatted with Chen Ronghuo for a few more words, and then said goodbye and left on the grounds that he would not disturb Huang Tishan's meeting. But when he turned around, he put a hand on his chest and touched the mysterious talisman he had encountered by chance. After approaching Chen Ronghuo, for some reason, it suddenly became extremely hot. The cold light in his eyes suddenly became even crazier. Moved. This talisman is said to be his taboo, and no one is allowed to have any ideas about it. This time, if he hadn't been too weak and Chen Ronghuo dared to appear in his territory, and if the talisman had such a change, he would have killed Chen Ronghuo immediately. At the same time, Chen Ronghuo narrowed his eyes when he saw Zhou Yuanhua turning around and leaving. Then he took a tour of Lushwiven town under the leadership of Huang Taizheng, and quickly left Lushwiven town without staying here any longer. After identifying the attributes of the deified statue and knowing that the Lord in the territory could consume the power of faith and temporarily increase his strength, he knew that his coming here this time was still a bit risky. Time passes day by day. Nearly a month has passed since Chen Ronghuo left Lushwiven town. The mountain behind Xiahe village. Chen Ronghuo was still sitting cross-legged on the flat stone where he usually practiced, as before. 10 meters away from him, a small sword as long as a palm flew up and down, with a cold light shining, showing its sharpness. Occasionally shaking, it seems to be able to bring out after images in the void, and at the same time, there are also whistling sounds, which are heard one after another, making the listener shiver. Compared to a month ago, his soul control power has obviously improved to a higher level. During this period of time, because he didn't have to expend a lot of soul power every day to deduce where the flaming spiritual objects were, he had chosen several secret techniques to practice through ancient books. One of them is the soul control technique. He was able to use his soul to control objects before, but he directly used a large amount of soul power to wrap the object and control it. This was not only wasteful, but also inflexible. The soul controlling technique is to turn the power of the soul into a net and then control objects. In this way, it not only saves effort, but also makes it more flexible. This secret technique, although called a secret technique, is actually just a simple way of using soul power derived from soul control. In addition, Chen Ronghuo also learned a secret technique called Soul Thorn. This secret technique is to condense the soul power into a thorn and directly attack the enemy's soul. However, this secret technique sounds powerful, but because everyone's soul is protected by the brain, and after passing through the brain, there are also layers of instinctive defenses in the sea of consciousness, so when this secret technique is used, it can generally only make enemies of the same level pause slightly at certain critical moments. It's just because his current cultivation is only the first level, and there is really no strong secret technique, so he chose such a secret technique to try. Suddenly, while Chen Ronghuo was controlling the small sword, his right hand suddenly pointed forward. The next moment, a flame rope more than 2 meters long came out of his hand, burning with flames, and instantly arrived in front of the fat cat lying on a stone in the distance. This is the blazing flame rope, the only flame secret technique he has practiced in the past month. When it reached the fat cat, the rope burning with flames immediately bent in the air like a snake, as if trying to tie up the fat cat. But the fat cat just waved its claws, and a wind blade swung out, instantly cutting Chen Ronghuo's blazing flame rope into pieces. "Let's go." Chen Ronghuo put away the small sword and took a few steps forward. At this time, the fat cat had automatically grown into a fat tiger, allowing Chen Ronghuo to climb on its back. The next moment, it jumped up, carrying Chen Ronghuo, and quickly ran towards Xiahe village. Soul Control, LV1, Advanced. Flame Control, LV1, Advanced. This is his progress after a month of practice. Huanglin will probably be back in the next 2 days. At the same time, Chen Ronghuo, riding on the fat cat's back, muttered to himself again. When Huanglin comes back, he will officially become a lord. Chapter May 10th be a little later, but not too long. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Chao Ji Dupang. Chapter 104. On this day, in Greenwater Baytown, Zhou Yuanhua held a letter in his hand. After he read the letter, a ferocious look immediately appeared on his face. The next moment he clenched his hand, and the letter in his hand was crushed into pieces. "My lord, what does Wu Ji's letter say?" Seeing Zhou Yuanhua's appearance, Duing hesitated and asked. After being silent for a while, Zhou Yuanhua said, "We all underestimated Han Bai. 2 days ago, he broke through to the second level peak." Second level peak? How is this possible? Hearing Zhou Yuanhua's words, Poison Shadow was also shocked. "In the last battle at Red Fish Village, I thought Han Bai had discovered something, so he wanted to fight me and test me," Zhou Yuanhua said in a deep voice, "but in fact, although he did have this intention, but his real purpose was to use that battle to obtain the blood of a large number of cultivators. He is the Red Sand Warlock. I just learned about the Red Sand through Wu Ji's letter, also known as the Sand of Blood. After he mastered a secret technique, he could quickly increase his strength with the help of the blood of practitioners he killed with his own hands." Having said this, Zhou Yuanhua slowly stood up from his seat. "However, although the Sand Warlock at the peak of the second level is powerful, we still don't know who will win." After taking a deep breath, he said, "Poison Shadow, next you help me guard the town while I go out." "Yes." Poison Shadow agreed and retreated. He knew what Zhou Yuanhua was going to do. Because the Earth Scourge female insect will probably be born in the next 2 days. This time, I was finally able to completely change my qualifications. At the same time, Zhou Yuanhua murmured to himself in his heart. His original martial arts qualification was only 1 point. It was only after he became the Lord of Greenwater Baytown that he used the treasures of heaven and earth to reshape his body and strengthen it to 2 points. He originally had no sorcerer qualifications, but after many calculations, he obtained 2 points of water sorcerer qualifications, and now has the early second level sorcerer cultivation level. In Xiahe village, Chen Ronghuo knew nothing about all this. In the past few days, he was still the same as before. In addition to practicing every day, he practiced. On this day, after a night of retreat and meditation, Chen Ronghuo still came out of the house early and punched the tiger heart fist twice in the yard. He gave Zhu Deipen the martial arts qualifications he had integrated into his body, and the qualifications became 2 points again, and his training speed dropped significantly. But he didn't care about this. For him, the way of the warlock is his foundation. You also need to practice martial arts, but only as an assistant. And whenever he can get the attributes of martial arts qualifications, he can add them to his body. At this time, most of the people in the village had not yet gotten up. Zhu Deipen and Li Haishui, after Shamao broke through to the second level, were sent back by him at night. In the entire village, perhaps the only one who came earlier than him was the colorful spirit butterfly. This little guy starts working hard to collect honey at dawn every day. At the same time, after a month of getting along with each other, the little guy no longer had much of a barrier to him. And in this month, with his feedback, the colorful spiritual butterfly has advanced from the early stage of the first stage to the middle stage of the first stage. But such strength still has no effect on Chen Ronghuo. I just feel that the spiritual honey brewed by it tastes more delicious. In fact, the reason why Chen Ronghuo was unwilling to accept it in the first place was because it was the early stage of establishing his power. At this time, for him, obtaining a strong combat effectiveness was the most important thing. However, as Shamao improved his cultivation with the help of the colorful spiritual butterflies and advanced to become a second-level demon, the prejudice in his heart finally disappeared. Morning. He said hello to the colorful spiritual butterfly. The colorful spiritual butterflies flew over in circles, circled twice above his head, and then flew back to the tree. Then while collecting honey, it would cast colorful spiritual rain from time to time to speed up the growth of the colorful spiritual tree. A month later, the colorful spirit tree grew again and was already 3 meters tall. Meow. Under the tree, the fat cat rolled on the ground, turned to look at Chen Ronghuo, raised a paw, and said hello to Chen Ronghuo. These days, it only stays with Chen Ronghuo. Most of the rest of the time was spent lying under the colorful spiritual tree, absorbing the spiritual energy gathered by the spiritual tree. Moreover, after advancing to the second level, this guy's appetite has further increased, and he now looks fatter. And all the salted fish from before have entered this guy's stomach. Now Chen Ronghuo has to ask Zhu Deipen and Li Haishui to go to the river to help him catch a lot of fresh fish every day. Okay, you should be ready soon. Sensing a trace of sadness conveyed from Shamao's emotions, Chen Ronghuo shook his head helplessly. This is almost his daily routine. In the past, he would get some food for Fat Cat, and then let Fat Cat take him to the back mountain to practice secret techniques. Haha, dead, dead, haha, all the bugs in the ground are dead. But at this moment, a villager's shout suddenly came from the distance. Chen Ronghuo raised his eyebrows, a little surprised. All the bugs underground are dead. How is this possible? He had also identified through ancient books before that those magic pattern woodroot insects had obviously received stronger radiation and had all turned into ultimate bodies. How could they all suddenly die? Thinking of this, he immediately had an idea and ordered the colorful spirit butterfly through his consciousness, control the spirit tree and get me a few white-fleshed worms underground. Swish. The colorful spirit butterfly was puzzled, but still followed Chen Ronghuo's instructions, controlling the colorful spirit tree and using its roots. In a short time, it brought the white-fleshed worms from underground to the ground. Although these worms can eat the roots of trees, they are unable to eat the roots of spirit trees. When Chen Ronghuo saw the white-fleshed worms brought to the ground by the colorful spirit tree, his eyes flashed and he used the identification technique of the ancient book on them. The corpse of the ultimate form of the magic pattern woodroot worm, dead because a lot of vitality was sucked away. Drained a lot of vitality? What sucked a lot of vitality away? Chen Ronghuo frowned. This kind of thing that was not within his control made him feel very bad. Young master, at this time, Zhu Daipen and Li Haishui both ran over quickly. Just now, some villagers found that the plague insects underground, for some unknown reason, all died. I already know. Chen Ronghuo pointed to the ground not far away. Then he showed a thoughtful look, not knowing whether this matter was good or bad for him. Boom boom boom. Just when he was thinking about this, his ears moved, and suddenly he heard a loud noise coming from a place dozens of miles away, as if a series of explosions had occurred. Where is it? Chen Ronghuo raised his head. Angsha town, that's the direction of Angsha town. Zhu Daipen quickly answered. Angsha town. Chen Ronghuo naturally knew that it was Angsha town. What he really wondered was how such a loud noise could appear in the territory of Angsha town. But he was too far away from there now. Even if he rode a fat cat to rush there, it would be too late. Huanglin will probably be back today. It's not far from his mountain. I wonder if he can hear anything. My hands are numb and I can't type anymore. The first order is over 350 in an hour. I need to take a break first. I will try my best to finish 1 or 2 chapters in the evening. I will start to update for you today. I will update every day in the future. Please subscribe. Thanks to the initial mark for 2000 coins, Dong for 1000 coins, book friends Hua Yangshu and 20180616232125300 for 500 coins, and only look at the content. Don't look at the author, and hung for 100 coins. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depang. Chapter 105. Chapter 105 Huanglin returns. Additional update 110 for the Alliance leader. May the world treat you gently. The huge sound coming from Angsha town did not last long, just a dozen seconds, and then it all stopped, and no sound could be heard anymore. Young master, do you want me to go over and take a look? After all the sounds disappeared, Li Haishui asked Chen Ronghuo. The sound just now was obviously the sound of a powerful cultivator fighting. Meeting such a powerful cultivator, with Li Haishui's cultivation, if those people don't like him, they can slap him to death with a slap. But after spending a long time with Chen Ronghuo, Li Haishui naturally knew that if he was willing to take the risk and go, he would definitely gain a lot in the future. No need. Chen Ronghuo shook his head. Even if Li Haishui went there and could find out something, it would be too late. Now he just needs to wait for Huanglin to return. He believes that with Huanglin's character, as long as he hears such a movement, he will not let it go. As for whether Huanglin would come back at this time, with his current cultivation, he was still unable to consume soul power to use ancient books to calculate the whereabouts of Huanglin, who had reached the 2nd level and was the inheritor of the Mongadu Black Emperor Snake. However, he could calculate whether there were still flame spirits in those locations that he had calculated with soul power before. And not long ago, he calculated that the flame spirit at the farthest location from him was no longer there. We just have to wait now. After rejecting Li Haishui's proposal, Chen Ronghuo said. Wait. Zhu Daipen and Li Haishui were puzzled. I wonder what Chen Ronghuo was waiting for? Could it be that if he just waited like this, the news would come by itself? Huanglin is coming back. Seeing the expressions of the two, Chen Ronghuo explained. Huanglin? Both of them were stunned. In fact, today is the 31st day since Huanglin left Ziahe village. Yesterday, they all thought Huanglin would come back. But after waiting for a day, Huanglin didn't come back. Today, Chen Ronghuo is so sure that Huanglin will come back soon. Chen Ronghuo didn't continue to explain, just keep the appropriate mystery. Then his eyes fell on Li Haishui, and he changed his words and smiled and said, I haven't congratulated you yet, you finally broke through to the peak of the warrior realm. At the first glance at Li Haishui, Chen Ronghuo knew through the ancient book identification technique that Li Haishui's martial arts qualifications were improved to 3 points, Li Haishui's hard work, and Li Haishui's daily consumption of a lot of nutritious food, Li Haishui's cultivation has broken through to the peak of the warrior realm. Reached the level of Zhu Daipen. It's all thanks to you, young master. Li Haishui bowed quickly, but my cultivation is nothing compared to yours. I will continue to work hard in the future and strive to become your real helper one day. You are not arrogant or impatient, which is good. Chen Ronghuo nodded. As for the cultivation, don't rush, you just need to build a solid foundation now. When Huanglin comes back and I become the Lord, I will give you a relatively advanced cultivation method. Hearing Chen Ronghuo's words, Zhu Daipen and Li Haishui's eyes lit up. The tiger refining heart fragrance they practiced in Xiahe village was only an apprentice-level low-grade martial arts method because it was incomplete. If they changed to a high-level method, even if they didn't have a lot of resources to help, they wouldn't have been in their 30s and still had the cultivation of the late warrior realm. Thank you, young master. Thinking of this, the two hurriedly thanked Chen Ronghuo. Chen Ronghuo nodded. Then he continued to chat with the two. As for the skills he just mentioned, they were naturally obtained with the help of the power of ancient books. He did not give high-level skills before because he wanted to use skills to win people's hearts when establishing the territory. After all, skills are different from other things. A skill can win a lot of people's hearts. Young master. Just as several people were chatting, a figure suddenly appeared outside his courtyard. The person who came was Huanglin. At this time, Huanglin's snake scales had disappeared and returned to his original appearance. At the same time, he was holding a huge snakeskin bag in his hand, which was bulging and filled with a lot of things. Seeing Huanglin, Zhu Daipen and Li Haishui were stunned. They didn't expect that Huanglin would be back soon just after Chen Ronghuo said that he would be back in just a dozen minutes. Huanglin, the inheritor of the Mangadu Black Emperor Snake. Cultivation, early stage of second stage. Loyalty, 99. At the same time, Chen Ronghuo, after identifying Huanglin's attributes, smiled and stepped forward and said, Huanglin, you are back just in time. You have worked hard during this period. Huanglin knelt on one knee and said, Huanglin is not tired. It's just that I originally promised you that I would return within a month, but I was one day late. Please punish me. We will talk about your late return later. Chen Ronghuo shook his head, and then said, you just came back from dozens of miles away, you should know what happened in Angsha town. The speed of the second-level cultivator is comparable to that of a car. Huanglin is still the best among them. It only took him more than 10 minutes to return to Xiahe village from the mountains dozens of miles away. Huanglin nodded and said, my lord, when I came back, I just heard the sound of fighting in Angsha town. So I concealed myself and went to check it out. When I arrived at Angsha town, I happened to see Zhou Yuan who was seriously injuring Han Bai in Angsha town during a sneak attack, causing Han Bai to escape. Then he smashed Han Bai's deified statue into pieces. Zhou Yuan who went to Angsha town to sneak attack Han Bai. Chen Ronghuo was slightly startled. Then he said doubtfully, I have been to Greenwater Bay town once before. At that time, Zhou Yuanhua was still a mid-level second-level warrior and an early-level second-level water warlock. With his ability, it shouldn't be enough to seriously injure Han Bai, right? Huanglin talked about a sneak attack, but in Han Bai's territory, how could it be so easy to do a sneak attack? Moreover, there is more than one Han Bai second-level cultivator in Angsha town. In addition, Han Bai was able to consume the power of faith and temporarily increase his strength in his own territory, So he really couldn't figure out what was going on. Xuanlin replied respectfully, Zhou Yuanhua's strength seems to be no longer in the mid-second level. He didn't know what happened, but he was able to alienate his body and become extremely powerful. According to my estimation, his current cultivation level is probably at the late second level. Also, Han Bai's cultivation seemed to have broken through, and he had reached the second level of peak cultivation. However, the method of breakthrough seemed not very authentic, which prevented him from fully displaying his strength. The most important thing is that Wu Ji, the Earth Warrior in Angsha Town, is from Zhou Yuanhua. Is Wu Ji from Zhou Yuanhua? When Chen Ronghuo heard this, his doubts were solved. With Jerry Wu cooperating, Zhou Yuanhua's strength soaring, and Han Bai having his own problems, under various conditions, this matter is not impossible. With this thought in his mind, Chen Ronghuo rubbed his eyebrows and paced on the spot. Such a big change happened this time, causing the situation in the surrounding area to change suddenly. He had to think clearly about what he was going to do next. Or, what should we do to get the most benefit? At this time, Xuanlin continued to speak, Sir, Zhou Yuanhua attacked Han Bai in a sneak attack, seriously injured Han Bai, and smashed his deified statue, but he is still staying in Angsha Town. He seems to want to use his own power to take over the power of Angsha Town for his own use. Once he succeeds, this area will probably become his monopoly. If we try to establish a territory here, we may be hit by his thunder immediately. So, please tell me, sir, what should we do next? Zhu Deipen and Li Haishui on the side looked at each other in confusion. No one expected that Huang Lingke would bring back such breaking news as soon as he came back. The extremely powerful Han Bai was seriously injured by Zhou Yuanhua in a sneak attack because of just one wrong move, and the statue of deification was blown up. Once the deified statue exploded, Zhou Yuanhua didn't know how much of the power of faith that Han Bai had accumulated over the years would be taken away by Zhou Yuanhua. After Han Bai escaped, although he still had a noble status, once all his elite soldiers and generals were taken away by Zhou Yuanhua, what else would he have to make a comeback? At the same time, the most important thing is that Han Bai lost. Without Han Bai's restraint, Zhou Yuanhua's family will be the only one. How can they survive in the cracks according to the previous plan? Zhu Deipen scratched his head and couldn't think of a good idea for a long time. Sir, what do you think we call the village chief back now? Suddenly, Li Haishui had an idea and suggested to Chen Ronghuo, Zhou Yuanhua's battle with Han Bai should consume a lot of money. With the strength of the village chief and Ho San, I wonder if we can intercept and kill Zhou Yuanhua before he returns to Lushwiven town? Once we intercept and kill him, there will be complete chaos here. In this way, we will have the opportunity to rise up. But just as Li Haishui finished speaking, before Chen Ronghuo could reply, Xuanlin on the side shook his head and said, this method won't work. My current strength can only deal with ordinary second-level mid-level cultivators. Zhou Yuanhua has reached the late second level and is still the leader among them. It's not that I'm greedy for life and fear of death, but you don't know the strength of late second level cultivators. My father and I alone are definitely no match for him. At this time, Chen Ronghuo also stopped. He glanced at Li Haishui, shook his head and said, Xuanlin is right, it is not appropriate to intercept Zhou Yuanhua. Not to mention that we are not Zhou Yuanhua's opponent, even if we can defeat Zhou Yuanhua, with his strength, it will probably be easy to escape. This way, once he returns to his own territory, it will be difficult for us to deal with him. After saying this, Chen Ronghuo's eyebrows knitted together and he took a few steps again. After a few steps, his eyes suddenly turned cold, and he said, however, we can't kill Zhou Yuanhua without poison, but it's not impossible to deal with him. He, Zhou Yuanhua, was able to raid the territory of Angsha Town, seriously injuring Han Bai, and recruit the talents of Angsha Town. So why can't we take advantage of his absence to raid Lushwiven Town and take Lushwiven Town as our own? Raid on Greenwater Bay Town? Take Greenwater Bay Town as your own? As soon as Chen Ronghuo finished speaking, the eyes of Huang Lin and others suddenly lit up. Today's last chapter, tomorrow's first chapter will be at noon. If you don't mind spending money, I will try to write more words in each chapter. I will definitely keep updating, so I beg for monthly tickets. It's a week late, so I definitely won't be in the top 10 of the new book monthly ticket list, but more is better. I thank you and reiterate that the content in brackets is free. Thanks to May the World Treat You Gently Pie for the 100,000 coin reward, the leader is mighty, and also thanks to Lu Wai for the 1000 coin reward, Little ZZG Killer God for the 500 coin reward, as well as Second World Dominator, Irritable Cheng Ji, Ancient Eternal, Xuanhuan, 9 Dead Knight 6 and Book Friend Phoenix Fengzi for the reward. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Chao Ji Peng. Chapter 106. Chen Ronghuo had long thought of attacking Greenwater Bay Town and taking it for himself. It was only because of the deified statue that he knew that the Lord could consume the power of faith and temporarily enhance his strength in his territory, so he abandoned this idea. But now, he has confirmed that Zhou Yuanhua is in Angsha Town dozens of miles away. In this case, if he does not attack Huanglong directly and throw away this great opportunity, then he will really have to hide in Xiaohe village for the rest of his life. Huang Lin, come with me. Thinking of this, Chen Ronghuo made a prompt decision. Zhu Daipen, Li Haishui, you two stay here for the time being. In addition, no matter what method you use, immediately let all the people in the village rush to Lushwiven Town as quickly as possible. Once we take Lushwiven Town, Zhou Yuanhua may come back to help immediately. I have a way to make him return empty-handed, but I have to prevent him from jumping off the wall and venting his anger in Xiaohe village. In addition, when I take Lushwiven Town, I will control Zhou Yuanhua's relatives. Once Zhou Yuanhua really comes, you use his relatives to threaten him. After hearing this, Zhu Daipen and Li Haishui immediately said, don't worry, young master, we know what to do. That's good. Chen Ronghuo nodded, and then he looked at the two of them again and said, also, you bring your children here, we will take them to Lushwiven Town together. It is safest to go to Lushwiven Town with him. He also reassures the two of them. As for going to fight with a bunch of burdens and dragging the family, Chen Ronghuo was not worried. Without Zhou Yuanhua, Lushwiven Town was like a toothless tiger. With the power he had now, he could take him down as soon as he went. Moreover, he could hide the children when he was close to Lushwiven Town, and then go alone with Huang Lin. Zhu Daipen and Li Haishui, together with Huang Lin, were all stunned when they heard what Chen Ronghuo said. None of them thought that Chen Ronghuo would bring these children with him. Meow. At this time, under the colorful spirit tree, the fat cat who had been listening to the conversation of several people suddenly stood up from under the tree after a cry and stretched. It knew that it would definitely be used next. So after a yawn, it shook its body, and its body suddenly became larger, turning into a giant tiger more than 2 meters tall and 5 or 6 meters long. Of course, after the transformation, the fat cat was just a tiger, not a fierce tiger. Because its body still looks as fat as a ball. Seeing the fat cat suddenly transform into such a huge monster, Li Haishui and Zhu Daipen were shocked and almost fell down in fear. The last time the fat cat transformed, they were both in the house and did not see it. Although they learned about the fat cat's transformation from other villagers afterwards, they never thought that the fat cat could become so big. As for Huang Lin, his eyes were even more solemn. Before the fat cat transformed, he did not sense anything. But after the fat cat transformed, he suddenly sensed it and knew that the fat cat had reached the second level like him. And judging from the aura emanating from the fat cat's strength is probably not simple. At this time, Li Haishui suddenly gritted his teeth and said, Sir, Li Ming doesn't need to go with you. Although Zhou Yuanhua is nearly 50 years old, he has only one son. As long as you control his son, we can ensure safety. If I let Li Ming go with you, other people in the village will find out and they may not be able to return home in the future. Zhu Deipen's originally excited expression froze when he heard this, but he also said, "Sir, my son also." Chen Ronghuo frowned and scolded, "Do whatever you are told to do. Don't waste time now. I can't keep all of you safe, but if I can save one person, it's one person. And Huang Lin, you should also call your wife and Huang Xiaoshan immediately. You will take your wife and I will take the 3 children to Lushuivan town." In fact, he also knew that time was urgent and it was a time to race against time, so he shouldn't think too much. It's just that all his subordinates were from Ziahe village. Especially Huang Xiaoshan. Huang Xiaoshan concerns Huang Lin, Huang Taizheng, and Ho San. Once Huang Xiaoshan encounters an accident, his subordinates may not betray him, but their loyalty will definitely drop a lot. Since he must take Huang Xiaoshan with him, what difference does it make to take a few more people? "Thank you, sir." Huang Lin bowed and did not refuse. "Thank you, sir." Zhu Deipen and the others could only say so. Then the two of them left quickly under the gaze of Chen Ronghuo. After the two left, Huang Lin stepped forward and handed the bulging snakeskin bag in his hand to Chen Ronghuo and said, "Sir, these are my gains from this trip into the mountains. All the flame spirits marked on the map are in it. I know you have worked hard on this trip. Now go pick up your wife." Chen Ronghuo took the snakeskin bag and said. Huang Lin nodded, then turned around and caught up with Zhu Deipen and Li Haishui. After Huang Lin left, Chen Ronghuo looked at the snakeskin bag in his hand, felt the weight inside, and his heart was slightly fluctuating. With these things, he would most likely be able to revive the natural disaster flame from its dormancy. Once the calamity flame is revived, it may give him some feedback and allow him to quickly break through to the second level. It's just that because of Zhou Yuanhua's matter, he wants to revive the calamity flame, but he may have to postpone it for some time. After thinking about it, he walked to Fat Cat, put the snakeskin bag on Fat Cat's neck, and then walked into the house and took out the noble reward scroll he had hidden in the house. At this time, the noble reward scroll showed a purple gold color. During this period of time, under Chen Ronghuo's repeated touches, the dark ghost energy on it had all dissipated. Noble reward scroll can reward nobles. This ability can be used 1 time. It will not disappear after use. After the noble it rewards chooses to establish a territory and become a lord, it can also be used to deify the lord's statue. After the lord's statue is deified, it means that the territory is officially built. At the same time, the deified lord's statue can also replace the lord himself to absorb and store the power of faith. This ability can be used 3 times, and the scroll disappears after 3 times. Seeing the new information on the ancient book, Chen Ronghuo nodded slightly. Then he took the ancient ring that was placed with the scroll in his hand. This ancient ring was the storage ring he got from the Black Snake's inheritance place last time. But the seal of this ring was extremely strong. Even if he asked the Fat Cat who had broken through to the second level to attack the seal inside was still motionless after such a long time. After putting the noble seal scroll and the storage ring close to his body, Chen Ronghuo walked out of the yard, glanced at the 7-color demon butterfly, and frowned slightly. The 7-color demon butterfly and the 7-color spirit tree are in a symbiotic relationship, and it is obvious that he can't take it away this time. You control the spirit tree to leave here now. After this matter is over, I will find you. Chen Ronghuo explained to the 7-color spirit butterfly through consciousness. The 7-color spirit butterfly still can't understand human language, and it is confused and has no idea what happened. It tilted its head and thought about it. After a while, he controlled the spirit tree, pulled out the roots, and walked away. Because its body was too small, it hid in the colorful flowers of the same color as its body. If you don't look carefully, you can't see it at all. Looking around, it was like a colorful tree that had become a spirit, walking on the earth. After the colorful spirit butterfly left, Chen Ronghuo looked at the half-petrified river crab hiding in the corner and peeking at him from time to time. After thinking about it, he smiled and said, "You stay here. If someone comes, you pretend to be a stone sculpture, and no one will pay attention to you." What he said was true. This big river crab that can speak, after being half petrified, if it doesn't move, it looks no different from a stone sculpture. Even if Chen Ronghuo swept it with the power of his soul, he would not notice anything unusual. "Young master." At this time, Huang Lin's figure flashed, and he rushed over with his wife Su Jian and Huang Xiaoshan. Chen Ronghuo nodded and walked out of the small courtyard. After waiting for a while, Zhu Daipen and Li Haishui also returned quickly with their children. It actually took more than a minute from their departure to their return, which did not delay much time. "Let's go." When everyone gathered, Chen Ronghuo just said a word, took over several children, and put them all on the back of Fat Cat. He also jumped up. Then, without his command, Fat Cat moved his body and ran away steadily and quickly. "Be careful." Just before leaving, he used the power of his soul to vibrate the air and whispered in the ears of Zhu Daipen and Li Haishui. This is the art of soul transmission. Chen Ronghuo learned it from ancient books in the 2 days when Huang Lin was about to return. This art of sound transmission is not a secret art, but it requires superb soul control ability. If you want to make different sounds, you have to use the power of the soul to vibrate the air at different frequencies. At the same time, Fat Cat also learned some of this art of sound transmission with him. If Fat Cat wanted to, he could still speak now and say some simple words. After one sentence, the figures of Chen Ronghuo and Fat Cat disappeared. He did not speak too much, and there was no need for it at this time. Seeing Chen Ronghuo leave, Huang Lin also took Su Jian and quickly chased after him. Su Jian was pregnant, but with Huang Lin's current strength, he could still be extremely stable. The distance of about 20 miles was passed in the blink of an eye. Huang Xiaoshan, Li Ming, and Zhu Daipen's child Zhu Lele sat on the soft back of Fat Cat, watching the surrounding environment quickly pass by, and they were all very excited. There was no sign of a war about to start. At the same time, under the protection of Fat Cat's control of the wind power, they did not have to worry about falling from above. Whoosh! When they were still 1 or 2 miles away from Greenwater Bay Town and could already see a large area of green water in the distance, Chen Ronghuo had an idea and asked Fat Cat to stop. This is a small hillside, and there is a slope on one side of the hillside. "Young master." As soon as Chen Ronghuo stopped, Huang Lin also stopped beside him. Chen Ronghuo rolled down from the Fat Cat's back with the 3 children. As soon as he got down, the Fat Cat's body shrank rapidly. In a short while, it shrank into a small fat cat the size of a palm, and at the same time threw off the snakeskin bag on its body. After the last transformation, its body could not only grow larger, but also become extremely small. Dragons can be big or small. This secret technique of changing size comes from dragons. It is the secret technique of dragons. After the transformation, Fat Cat flashed and performed the wind control technique. Like a flash of lightning, he leaped up and rushed to Greenwater Bay Town at an extremely fast speed. "Let's wait here for a while. I'll let Fat Cat go to explore the situation in Greenwater Bay Town. At the same time, let it notify your father and let him cooperate with us later." With their current strength, it is not impossible to force their way into Greenwater Bay Town. But once Greenwater Bay Town is prepared, the Greenwater Bay Town's guards will set up a battle formation in advance, which will be troublesome for them. Huang Lin nodded. But his eyes fell on the distant Fat Cat, and his expression became more solemn. He originally thought that after he completely adapted to his own strength, he would become the most powerful weapon in Chen Ronghuo's hands. But he didn't expect that just a cat in Chen Ronghuo's hand would have such strength. But Huang Lin didn't know that when he was shocked by the strength of the fat cat, Su Qian beside him was also looking at him with surprise. Su Qian had never thought that her husband was so powerful. When Huang Lin was holding her and running just now, she felt the flying speed and was almost scared to death. The sun had just come out. Most people in Greenwater Bay Town had just woken up. After becoming smaller, the fat cat was very fast. In just a few flashes, it came to the residence of Huang Taizheng and Ho San without the guards of Greenwater Bay Town noticing. The last time it came here with Chen Ronghuo, it was already strolling and remembered this place. Bang bang bang. There were bursts of fighting sounds in Ho San's courtyard. Deputy Commander, can we stop fighting? We just got up. How can we face people when we are bruised and swollen later? Several figures fell to the ground in a mess. They looked at the tall figure standing in the middle of the yard, and their faces were filled with despair. However, in despair, they also admired this figure very much. Back to old business, setting bowls. Thanks to Moueshi for 2,000 coins, Suan for 1,000 coins, WKJH for 1,000 coins, I am also desperate for 500 coins, and Wuxian for 100 coins. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Chao Ji Dupang. Chapter 107. OK. Ho San exhaled heavily. In the early morning, he breathed long. This breath was exhaled, winding forward like a white snake, reaching more than 10 meters away. With a puff, the wall of the courtyard was hit by his white breath, and a hole was directly pierced. The warriors who fell to the ground were all practitioners at the peak of the warrior realm. When they saw the breath exhaled by Ho San, they all showed a look of shock. Once again, it felt that just now, several of them joined forces and were knocked to the ground by Ho San, but it was actually nothing. The gap was really too big. Just when they felt shocked, Ho San's blood suddenly accelerated in his body. There was a sound of rushing, as if the river was washing the river. The earth warriors, the blood is as thick as the earth. Every strand of blood is extremely thick. Mobilizing such blood to bless oneself, the strength will naturally be stronger. At this moment, Ho San condensed his blood and transformed it into this blood and energy as thick as the earth, becoming an earth warrior. Not only that, when he became an earth warrior, his whole body also transformed. Indistinctly, he seemed to have transformed into a huge demon ape, standing on the ground with his feet, constantly patting his chest with high fighting spirit, and his whole body was filled with an indescribable murderous intent. Seeing Ho San's sudden transformation, several warriors who had not yet gotten up from the ground all breathed rapidly. Deputy Commander, you broke through and became an earth warrior. Several people spoke in disbelief. You know, Ho San is only 18 years old this year. Becoming an earth warrior at the age of 18 simply made them feel ashamed. Especially, Ho San was a warrior who came out of the dilapidated place of Xiahe village. Hearing several people speak, Ho San slowly restrained his breath. He looked at the people in front of him. Breaking through in front of them was unexpected and not what he wanted. He frowned slightly, thinking about what he should do. Meow. Just then, the fat cat suddenly appeared on the wall not far away. It blinked and looked at Ho San, a little surprised. It didn't expect that after such a long time, this big guy would become so powerful. It was not an exaggeration to call Ho San a big guy. Only 1 month later, Ho San seemed to have quickly entered the second growth period. The whole person actually grew from 2 meters to 2 meters and 3. Ho San stood there with his back straight, looking like a black iron tower standing on the ground. Hearing the fat cat's cry, Hosan's eyebrows jumped and turned his head suddenly. At this time, the fat cat had returned to its original size, so Hosan recognized it at a glance. Seeing the fat cat, Hosan's heart trembled. In an instant, he thought of what Chen Ronghuo said at the beginning, that when the time came to act, he would find a way to notify him and Huang Tai's Hung. Could it be that the young master's cat was here to inform me? You go down first. Hosan waved his hand, but remember, don't tell anyone about my breakthrough after you go out. Yes, Commander, we remember it. All of them were very excited. Hosan is the deputy commander of the Greenwater Bay Town Guard, and also their direct leader. Hosan has broken through and become a warrior of the earth, and their status will definitely rise in the future. The master is outside Greenwater Bay Town now. He asked me to tell you and village chief Huang that Zhou Yuanhua is now in Angsha Town. From now on, you have to deal with the Greenwater Bay Town Guard and try your best to control Zhou Yuanhua's family. He will come in with Huang Lin later, and then directly occupy Greenwater Bay Town, use Greenwater Bay Town as the base camp, and establish a territory. At this time, the fat cat used soul transmission and a subtle voice to convey the words that Chen Ronghuo told him to Hosan without missing a word. Is Zhou Yuanhua in Angsha Town now? Young master wants to use Greenwater Bay Town as the base camp to establish a territory. Hosan's pupils shrank immediately after hearing Fat Cat's words. He never thought that Chen Ronghuo would have such a bold plan. He actually wanted to occupy Greenwater Bay Town directly. And all this happened too quickly. It has only been a month since he came to Greenwater Bay Town. In just 1 month, Chen Ronghuo is going to establish a territory. In an instant, his breathing became extremely heavy. Then he turned his eyes and fell on the warriors who had walked to the door. Bang! The next moment, he stomped his feet on the ground, and as the earth and rocks collapsed, he suddenly came behind those people with lightning speed, and attacked them one after another, using his hand knife to chop off the back of their necks. Plop plop! In an instant, all of them fell to the ground. Commander Yu. Only the last warrior had a slightly stronger resistance. But he just turned his head and looked at Hosan with an unbelievable look, and Hosan chopped him down to the ground. After doing this, Hosan looked at the sun, then turned his head and looked at Fat Cat, saying, "Go back and tell the young master that the village chief and I will deal with the guards of Greenwater Bay Town within 3 minutes." Fat Cat nodded, and then under Hosan's gaze, his body changed to the size of a palm again, and after a flash, he disappeared on the wall. After the Fat Cat disappeared, Hosan immediately turned around and found Huang Tai's Hung. There were more than 100 people in the Greenwater Bay Town Guard. But there were not many who could really set up a battle formation and pose a threat to the Earth Warriors. With his and Huang Tishan's strength and identity, they could completely destroy the combat effectiveness of these people within 3 minutes. Whoosh! When Hosan and Huang Tai's Hung began to act inside Greenwater Bay Town, the Fat Cat shrank its body and flew high like a bird, flew out of Greenwater Bay Town without attracting any attention, and then flew back to Chen Ronghuo. What happened? Seeing the Fat Cat, Chen Ronghuo asked. Hearing Chen Ronghuo's question, the Fat Cat immediately explained to Chen Ronghuo what had just happened through his consciousness. If it is not a special situation, it generally will not use the soul transmission technique. Using the soul transmission technique always gives it an awkward feeling. 3 minutes. After getting the result from Fat Cat, Chen Ronghuo nodded, and then said, "In that case, let's enter Greenwater Bay Town in 3 minutes." Then he looked at Huang Lin beside him and said, "Huang Lin, let's leave your wife and Huang Xiaoshan's children here. After we enter Greenwater Bay Town and finish the things inside, it won't be too late to take them in. Their current location is a small slope. If they leave Su Jian and the children here, as long as they hide under the slope, no one will notice them. On the side, Su Jian held Huang Lin's hand tightly. It was not until now that she knew that Chen Ronghuo and Huang Lin were actually going to attack Greenwater Baytown. To take Greenwater Baytown. Although she already knew that Huang Lin's strength was far beyond her imagination, she was still terrified when she thought of Greenwater Baytown, which had accumulated power for a long time, for fear that Huang Lin would have an accident. Huang Lin patted Su Jian and comforted her, "Don't worry, nothing will happen. You stay here and take care of Huang Xiaoshan and the others, don't let them run around. Zhou Yuanhua is not in Greenwater Baytown at this time. After the young master and I go to Greenwater Baytown, we will come back to pick you up in no time." Su Jian had no choice but to nod with tears in her eyes. Time passed quickly, and 3 minutes passed in the blink of an eye. After 3 minutes, Chen Ronghuo moved and got on the back of the fat cat that had grown bigger again, letting it carry him and rushed straight to Greenwater Baytown. Huang Lin followed closely behind. Demon. On the shore of Greenwater, a boatman who got up early and the guards who were responsible for registering to enter Greenwater Baytown were stunned when they saw Chen Ronghuo riding the fat cat. "It's not a demon, it's someone driving a demon. Who are you? This is Greenwater Baytown, you are not allowed to trespass." Then, before Chen Ronghuo approached, the guards on the shore shouted at the two of them. Chen Ronghuo ignored the shouting of these people and rode the fat cat directly to the small island in the center of Greenwater. The fat cat stepped on the water with 4 feet, creating circles of ripples. The ripples spread out like a lotus. At the same time, Huang Lin followed the fat cat without any slowness. He walked on the water just like the fat cat. His steps were extremely strange, like a snake, silent, winding and twisting. In just a moment, the two people and the cat arrived at the small island where Greenwater Baytown was located in front of the stunned guards and boatmen. The guard in charge of registration who had seen Chen Ronghuo last time recognized him. But he couldn't figure out where Chen Ronghuo got such a big burden and dared to rush to Greenwater Baytown so rampantly. "Stop!" At this time, the Greenwater Baytown guards on the city wall also discovered Chen Ronghuo and Huang Lin. Seeing them force their way in, the guards immediately drew their bows and shot arrows at the two. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Arrows rained down. But when those arrows hit Chen Ronghuo, they were swept away by the wind, like goose feathers without any force, scattered all over the ground. Huang Lin was in a similar situation. All the arrows fell on Huang Lin, as if they fell on a smooth ball smeared with oil, and all scattered in other directions. Whoosh! 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 And at this moment, a series of green tornadoes, under the control of Fat Cat, rose from the city wall. More than a dozen huge tornadoes roared violently, and in a blink of an eye, all the guards on the city wall were covered in them. Then these tornadoes merged together, just like Han Bai controlled the sand tornado, and rolled up all the guards on the city wall. Rolled them into the green water in the distance. Plop, plop. After a while, all the guards became soaked and fell into the water. Because it was not wartime, there were only a dozen guards on this section of the wall. When the dozen guards fell into the water, they struggled to raise their heads and looked at Chen Ronghuo and Huang Lin. Chen Ronghuo and Huang Lin had already entered Greenwater Baytown. After entering Greenwater Baytown, Chen Ronghuo immediately drove the Fat Cat and rushed straight to the Lord's mansion in Greenwater Baytown. Now, the most important thing for him is to smash the deified statue of Zhou Yuanhua in the Lord's talisman. Huang Tai's Hung, Ho San, you are looking for death. As soon as the two arrived at the Lord's mansion in Lushwiven town, they saw Ho San and Huang Tai's Hung entangled with a figure covered in a cloak. Thanks to Moueshi and book friend Kingig for the 100 coin reward, and also thank you for your monthly ticket recommendation votes. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Chao Ji Peng. Chapter 108. The figure covered in a cloak, his figure was crisscrossed, and black and green poisonous mists were waving. The poisonous mists wrapped him in the middle, making him look like a poison messenger who had walked out of the poison. He formed seals with his hands. Every time his palm fell, a large amount of poisonous mist condensed into strange poisonous snakes, which pounced on Huangtai's Hung and Ho-san and bit them. Huangtai's Hung seemed to have accidentally inhaled some poisonous mist into his body. At this time, his whole body was swollen and purple-black, looking extremely terrifying. Poison Shadow, 2nd level early stage warrior, 2nd level early stage poisonous warlock. Position, Greenwater Baytown Secret Inspector. Special ability, Poisonous Body. With this poisonous body as the foundation, the power of any poison-attributed skills and secrets he practices will be greatly increased. He can unseal the poisonous body and exert the combat power comparable to that of a 2nd-level late-stage practitioner in a short period of time, and can perform the poison escape technique, which greatly increases the speed. But after that, the poisonous body will be useless, and the cultivation will never make any progress. At the same time, due to improper cultivation, his appearance was completely destroyed, and a layer of black and green poisonous hair grew on his skin. After Chen Ronghuo arrived here on the Fat Cat, he immediately used the ancient book to identify the information of the figure shrouded in the cloak. Poison Shadow. The secret inspector of Greenwater Baytown, Chen Ronghuo's heart moved, knowing that this person was most likely the last 2nd-level cultivator in Greenwater Baytown besides Zhou Yuanhua. Just thinking of the information about the poisonous body of Poison Shadow that he had just identified, made him frown slightly. Unsealing the poisonous body and exerting the strength comparable to that of a late-stage 2nd-level cultivator in a short period of time is definitely a big trouble for him. When thinking of this, he set his eyes on Ho-san again. At this time, Ho-san had a hideous face and exuded a high fighting spirit. He stepped on the ground with both feet and punched out one punch after another, with endless power, and all the poisonous fog snakes that rushed towards him were smashed to pieces by him. A little bit of the poison was inhaled into his body during his breathing, but it seemed to have no effect. If he hadn't been there, Huangtai would have fallen into the hands of Du Ying. Ho-san, a beginner earth warrior, and a blood warlock who has awakened the blood of the earth war ape. Loyalty, 94. Martial arts qualification, 4, because of blood awakening, martial arts qualification is improved. Warlock qualification, 1-5, usually 1, qualification is improved in battle. The more intense the battle, the more qualification is improved, and the faster the training speed is. Special ability 1, the more you fight, the braver you become. Special ability 2, when you step on the earth, you can use the power of the earth to enhance your defense and strength. Special ability 3, when you are crazy about fighting, you can transform into an earth war ape, and your strength will be improved in all aspects, but you will fall into weakness afterwards. After identifying Ho-san's attributes, Chen Ronghuo's eyes suddenly lit up slightly. Ho-san's attributes can be said to be extremely outstanding. And after Ho-san broke through and became an earth warrior, he can finally stand on his own and become another sharp blade under him. In the distance, when Chen Ronghuo and Huang Lin arrived, Du Ying also saw them. Especially when his eyes fell on Chen Ronghuo, a cold light flashed in his eyes. At this time, he didn't know that he had been fooled by Chen Ronghuo a month ago. At the same time, although Xiaohe village was also a bit troublesome, it would never dare to rebel or even break into Lushwiven town. Now the people of Xiaohe village are like crazy, daring to come to their territory to make trouble. It is clear without thinking that all this must be Chen Ronghuo's doing. Chen Ronghuo. Looking at Chen Ronghuo, he shouted hoarsely, "My master has broken through to the late 2nd stage. You broke into our Greenwater Bay town today and are looking for death. I advise you to surrender immediately. You are quite strong. Now my master is in need of people. If you surrender to my master, you will definitely be reused. But if you are stubborn, You will die when my master returns. At the same time, his words were very fast, just like soul transmission, and it seemed that he used special means to vibrate the air, so that he only slapped when he spit out words. Surrender. Chen Ronghuo moved his body and jumped off the fat cat. Seeing Chen Ronghuo's actions, Du Ying's eyes condensed slightly, not knowing what he was going to do. Kill him. Suddenly, when Du Ying focused most of his attention on Chen Ronghuo suddenly gave an order to the fat cat through consciousness. At the same time, he also used the means of soul transmission to convey this order to Huanglin's ears. Just as Chen Ronghuo gave the order, the fat cat's body suddenly shrank and changed to its original size. While its body was shrinking, it raised one of its claws and slashed down, condensing a green wind blade as thin as a willow leaf, which flashed and shot straight to the center of the eyebrows of the poisonous shadow. The fat cat is very powerful, but because it has fought too few times, it has little combat experience. In view of this, when Chen Ronghuo first saw it condense this kind of wind blade similar to Xiao Li Feidao, he had been training it and asked it to practice this move more often. One trick, eat all the world. At this time, when it shot out this wind blade, it was fast, accurate, and ruthless. It was well versed in sneak attacks and was very sharp. It directly put the poisonous shadow, who was fighting fiercely with Ho San and Huang Taizheng, into a life and death crisis. Especially because Poison guessed that Chen Ronghuo was behind all this, he subconsciously thought that Chen Ronghuo was extremely powerful. Therefore, during this process, most of his attention was focused on Chen Ronghuo. He never thought that Chen Ronghuo did nothing after getting off Shamao. Instead, the fat cat, who looked extremely ferocious and should be an expert in melee combat like the big tiger, condensed a cyan wind blade with a fast speed and shot towards him. Boom! In the crisis of life and death, Poison Shadow could no longer care about anything else. He directly threw away all worries, unlocked a seal in his body, and completely released his poisonous body. If he doesn't unblock it, he will die. After Poison Shadow unsealed the poisonous body, a large amount of black and green poisonous gas immediately spread out from his body, extremely dense. Especially those poisonous gases that were close to his body, some even condensed into liquid and dripped on the ground, corroding deep pits on the ground, like miasma rain and wild smoke. After unsealing the poison body, Poison Shadow's strength instantly soared to the late second level. Previously, he had no time to react when faced with the wind blade that fat cat shot towards him. But after unsealing the poisonous body, his speed, strength, and reflexes all greatly increased. When he saw that the wind blade was about to hit him between the eyebrows, he finally turned around and dodged the blow. Brush. But just when he thought he had avoided the wind blade, the extremely fast wind blade flew out from his ear, suddenly spun back after flying out. Poison Shadow's pupils tightened. Puff. And only this time, because he still had to deal with Ho San and Huang Taizheng, he was finally half a beat too late, and his left arm was cut off from his body with a pop of wind blade. With a pop, his clothed left arm fell to the ground, and black-green poisonous blood flowed out, quickly corroding the clothes on the arm and the ground into a puddle of green water. Even his left arm itself turned into green water. A large number of bubbles emerged from the green water, and soon evaporated into the air just like the mouthful of blood he spit out in Xiaohe village. Poison Shadow's eyes were cold and he had lost an arm. Even if he could display his late-level second-level strength, facing so many people from Chen Ronghuo's group, he probably had no chance of winning. But before Poison Shadow could think too much, he saw Huang Lin appear behind him at some point, raised a hand, formed a strange mark, and clasped it towards his back. He was extremely awe-inspiring. Huang Lin's attack speed was too fast. Especially Huang Lin's whereabouts were so strange that it frightened him. When he noticed Huang Lin taking action, Huang Lin was already behind him. As the secret inspector of Lushwiven town, He has a very good understanding of the interior of Lushwiven town and all the warriors in many villages. Of course he knew about Huang Lin. But he never thought that Huang Lin, who was originally ordinary, would unknowingly break through to the second level like Ho San. Even stronger than Ho San. After Huang Lin hit the mark with this move, he suddenly changed as he approached the poisonous shadow, and 7 or 8 snake shadows rushed out from it. These snake shadows seemed to be dancing like a group of snakes. After suddenly scattering, they immediately surrounded and bitten the poisonous shadows from all directions. Feeling the strangeness and power of Huang Lin's attack, Duing's eyes turned gloomy, knowing that he alone would not be able to save Greenwater Baytown. Thinking this, his body suddenly roared, and the speed of unsealing the poisonous body was accelerated again. Immediately afterwards, he used the poison escape technique and suddenly turned into a black and green shadow, forcibly rushing out from the siege of the shadow snakes shot by Huang Lin, and rushed into the distance. At this time, his strength is comparable to that of a late second-level cultivator. Coupled with the use of the poison escape technique, which is specially used for escape, the whole person is like a black lightning. Even the fat cat cannot match such speed. At this time, the huge movement here had already attracted the attention of the warriors who came to Greenwater Baytown. It's just that a large number of warriors came, but after seeing the scene here, they all hesitated and did not dare to approach. A group of second-level cultivators are fighting. If they dare to get close, the aftermath will probably kill them. It wasn't until the poisonous shadow escaped that some people dared to step forward. Among these people, there happened to be the pyromancer Zhu Qiang whom Chen Ronghuo knew. Zhu Qiang stepped forward, hesitated for a moment, looked at the people in front of him, and asked Huang Taizheng, "Commander Huang, don't you know who that person was just now?" In the entire Lushwiven town, no one except Zhou Yuanhua had seen Poison Shadow. That person just now is the secret inspector of your Lushwiven town. But before Huang Taizheng could answer, Chen Ronghuo spoke first. At the same time, he is also the only second-level person in your Lushwiven town except Zhou Yuanhua. A practitioner. When Zhu Qiang heard this, his heart suddenly trembled. In fact, Zhu Qiang and others had already heard some of Poison Shadow's previous words. But they really couldn't believe that Chen Ronghuo, Huang Taizheng, and others dared to raid their territory while Zhou Yuanhua was away. But now that Chen Ronghuo's words have come out, it has obviously been completely proven. But he didn't know what Chen Ronghuo planned to do after forcing Poison Shadow away. Especially, how to deal with them. After Chen Ronghuo finished speaking, he reached out from his bosom and took out the purple gold scroll of the noble reward. He held the scroll of the noble reward in his hand and looked at the people in Greenwater Baytown who were looking here from all directions. Then, in front of everyone, he activated the scroll with the power of his soul. Boom! A large piece of purple gold light was released from the scroll and fell on Chen Ronghuo, as if he was baptized from the inside out. And in this baptism, there were mysterious syllables, as if they were preaching something, and as if they were praying for something, resounding in Chen Ronghuo's mind. Finally, when the many sounds ended, all the purple light shrank and turned into a strange purple gold mark, engraved on his forehead. This purple gold mark is the proof of nobility. The mark on his forehead is similar to that of the Lord. Could the scroll he just took out be the scroll of the noble reward? Noble, could he be? Seeing this scene, everyone was discussing secretly. Obviously, at this moment, many people have guessed what Chen Ronghuo is going to do. Chen Ronghuo did not immediately hide the purple gold mark on his forehead. With this mark on his forehead, he looked at Zhu Qiang, whose face was uncertain, and the people of Greenwater Baytown who had not come up in the distance, and suddenly said, "Your lord is not in your territory now. Next, I want to replace him and become your new lord. Do you have any objections?" After he finished speaking, everyone in Greenwater Baytown was silent. Under the pressure of several second-level practitioners, no one dared to speak. Since no one has any objections. Chen Ronghuo turned his head and set his eyes on the deified statue of Zhou Yuanhua on the square in Zhou Yuanhua's lord's mansion. Boom boom boom. As he looked over, the fat cat had grown in size again, swooped over, raised its claws, and landed heavily on Zhou Yuanhua's deified statue again and again. That's all for today, 3 chapters with 10,000 words guaranteed, and then 14 more chapters will be added if the first order is 1,400, and the leader will add 10 chapters. There are 9 more chapters left, a total of 23 chapters, and the fat cat will pay it back slowly, don't worry. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 109. In Angsha town, Zhou Yuanhua was dressed in a white robe, with a ruddy face and high spirits. He stood proudly in the field, and all the practitioners around him bowed their heads. Wu Ji, one of the 2 earth warriors in Angsha town, was his subordinate. After Han Bai escaped, he immediately used his powerful strength to intimidate and subdue Xiechandong, another earth warrior in Angsha town. With the help of Wu Ji and Xiechandong, except for some 2 stubborn guys, it didn't take too long for him to control all the elite soldiers in Angsha town. However, he did not immediately return to Lushwiven town with these newly recruited subordinates. For a lord, soldiers and talents are important, and money is equally important. He stood at the highest point of Angsha town and looked around. Looking at his subordinates, who collected a lot of wealth for him from all directions, a smile suddenly appeared on his face. This time, he really couldn't help but be unhappy. Not long ago, he contracted and refined the Earth Disaster Mother Worm. After refining this worm, his aptitude suddenly far exceeded the previous one. His strength increased greatly, reaching the late 2nd stage. It was precisely because of this that he was able to defeat Han Bai, who had been in a stalemate with him for many years. Zhou Yuanhua looked at the chaotic Angsha town and shook his head slowly. Once he brought all the strong men in Angsha town to Lushwiven town, even if Han Bai recovered from his injuries and returned to Angsha town, what could he do in the face of such a mess? Sir, this is a copper coin card collected from the rich merchants in the north of the town, with a total of 5 million copper coins. At this time, Xiechandong, the earth warrior who had just been subdued by him, ran quickly and presented a copper coin card to Zhou Yuanhua. Copper coin cards are issued by the Bronze Temple, and generally large amounts of copper coins are stored in copper coin cards. Very good. Zhou Yuanhua nodded and was about to reach out to take the copper coin card. But suddenly, just when he stretched out his hand halfway, his eyebrows suddenly jumped, and a purple gold mark appeared. This purple gold mark is the mark that all nobles have. Crack. When this mark appeared, Zhou Yuanhua's hands suddenly tightened and clenched together tightly, as if all the joints were broken by his clenching. Then he turned his head quickly, looking far away in the direction of Greenwater Bay Town, and a strong black light flashed in his eyes. At this moment, Fat Cat was attacking Zhou Yuanhua's deified statue. Zhou Yuanhua's deified statue has a special connection with his Baron mark. As soon as the deified statue was attacked, he immediately felt it. Who dared to attack his deified statue? Is it Han Bai? Han Bai was seriously injured, how could he recover so quickly? And, where is Du Ying? Where did Du Ying go? Zhou Yuanhua's mind was full of thoughts. At the same time, the expression on his face became more and more gloomy, as if it was the eternal ice that could not be melted. Even his whole body exuded an icy aura, as if he had become the source of icy cold. Xiechandong in front of him felt the cold aura suddenly emanating from Zhou Yuanhua, and his body immediately stiffened. I don't know why Zhou Yuanhua suddenly changed so much. At this time, Zhou Yuanhua looked at the distance coldly, and then set his eyes on Xiechandong. His deified statue was being attacked. In his opinion, with such an attack intensity, even if the statue had a trace of the power of the gods, it would probably only take a few minutes for the statue to be broken. In this way, even if he rushed back now, it would definitely be too late. At the same time, he was still worried. He didn't know who attacked his deified statue, how strong it was, he didn't know if it would be useful if he went back, and even more, he was worried that he would fall into some kind of trap specifically targeting him. Moreover, once he speeds up and rushes back, will Xiechundong, who was just subdued by him by shock, and other practitioners in Angsha town still be as honest as they are now? Thinking of this, he suddenly spoke loudly, and the voice spread throughout Angsha town, "Everyone, stop what you are doing and come to me." Hearing Zhou Yuanhua's words, the practitioners who had just been subdued by him and scattered in Angsha town were immediately confused and rushed to him quickly. Before Zhou Yuanhua had killed many people with thunderous means, so after Zhou Yuanhua's order was issued, no one dared to hesitate. After everyone rushed over, in the puzzled eyes of the practitioners, Zhou Yuanhua said in a deep voice, "I want to transfer the territory to Angsha town. You can help me call the stone carver in the town to carve a deified statue for me now." Transfer the territory to Angsha town? After Zhou Yuanhua's words came out, everyone looked at each other and thought that Zhou Yuanhua was crazy. Now, Angsha town has been turned into a mess by Zhou Yuanhua in a short time. Under such circumstances, Zhou Yuanhua actually wants to start over from such a mess. Isn't this crazy? Lord, I don't know what happened. Wu Ji, who has followed Zhou Yuanhua the longest, hesitated for a while and asked him about his doubts. Zhou Yuanhua glanced at the cultivators below and said coldly, "Someone is attacking my deified statue in Lushwiven town. It may be too late for me to go back now." Lushwiven town is being attacked? Everyone was stunned when they heard Zhou Yuanhua's words. They didn't expect that when Zhou Yuanhua raided Angsha town and captured Angsha town, someone would actually attack Lushwiven town. Who is the person who attacked Greenwater Bay town? Could it be their original Lord Hanbai? Looking at everyone's expressions, Zhou Yuanhua's eyes flashed with coldness. At this time, people in Angsha town were unstable. He naturally knew that as soon as his words came out, his newly subdued subordinates would definitely have their thoughts wandering. But if he doesn't say anything, these people's random guesses won't make them much better, so it's better to burn the boat. And with his suppression, these people must be honest and obedient no matter how their minds wander. In Greenwater Bay town, when Fat Mao dropped his paws on Zhou Yuanhua's deified statue again and again, Chen Ronghuo also walked over. He placed his left hand on the deified statue and tried to find out what attributes it could. The deified statue has a hint of divine blessing from the gods, and its essence has changed. Even with Fat Cat's strength and continuous attacks, it would be difficult to break it into pieces quickly. At the same time, because the level of the deified statue was too high, as time passed, Chen Ronghuo was still unable to find any attributes from it. Click. Suddenly, 4 minutes later, as the Fat Cat swung his claws on the deified statue again, the deified statue could no longer hold on and cracked open a gap. And just when the deified statue was broken, purple flashed on Chen Ronghuo's left hand, and an attribute was touched out by him. Deified attribute add 1. Chen Ronghuo's eyes flashed slightly. Although he still doesn't know what this deified attribute does, but since it can be tagged with the word God, it is definitely not ordinary. Click. At the same time, after a crack opened in the deified statue, as Fat Cat struck his claws on it again, it suddenly shattered into pieces with a snap like a flood bursting its banks. After the deified statue was shattered, a breath like white mist suddenly emanated from it. Power of faith. After refining, it can speed up your practice. In their own territory, the Lord can use the deified statue to consume the power of faith and temporarily enhance his strength. Nobles can use the noble's exclusive mark to temporarily store the power of faith. Sacrificing the power of faith to the gods can increase the noble level. Is this the power of faith? Seeing the white mist, Chen Ronghuo's heart moved, and he hurriedly activated the purple-gold mark between his eyebrows, causing it to form a strange suction force and suck it towards the white mist in front of him. Lords fight against each other, in addition to other interests, to gain more power of faith. Otherwise, it would be too difficult to advance to a higher level of nobles just by relying on the power of faith gathered in one territory. This is just like a horse will not be fat without night grass, and a person will not be rich without windfall. In a moment, the power of faith was temporarily stored in the center of Chen Ronghuo's eyebrows. Through induction, he knew that he could only store the power of faith for about 3 or 4 days through the noble mark. Therefore, if he wants to retain the power of faith, he must build his own deified statue within 3 or 4 days. In Angsha town, when Shamao smashed his deified statue with his paw, Zhou Yuanhua's body was shaken, and his face suddenly turned gloomy. He immediately felt the moment the deified statue was shattered. He took a deep breath and turned his head to look not far away. His men have already found a stone carving master from Angsha town for him, who is currently helping him build a new deified statue, but it will take quite some time to complete it. He waited quietly, without anxiety or irritability. He had survived all these years, and he didn't believe that he would fall when he was at his most energetic. Whoosh! A few minutes later, a black and green light flashed in the distance and arrived in front of Zhou Yuan's incarnation. This black-green light was transformed by Poison Shadow's poison escape technique. Plop! As soon as Poison Shadow landed on the ground, he knelt in front of Zhou Yuanhua with a pop. "Your Majesty, my subordinate failed to defend his territory and deserves death. Please punish me, Your Majesty." Seeing Poison Shadow coming, Zhou Yuanhua relaxed slightly. Poison Shadow was able to escape, which proved that the people who attacked them in Greenwater Bay Town were not invincible. We'll talk about other things later. You tell me first who is attacking our Lushwiven town. He had been waiting before and did not dare to leave Angsha town. One of the reasons was that he was worried that Xie Chuntong and others would attack him. Rebellion after leaving. Another reason is because of Poison Shadow. He is very clear about Poison Shadow's strength. After Poison Shadow unblocks his poisonous body, he can display strength comparable to that of a late second-level practitioner. Under such circumstances, Poison Shadow was unable to defend Greenwater Bay Town, which made him extremely fearful of the enemies hiding in the dark and did not dare to take risks easily. Poison Shadow was seriously injured before and lost an arm. He then unsealed the poison body and used the poison escape technique. His body was already extremely weak. However, his body seems to be extremely special, and even so, it can still hold up. He replied, "It's Chen Ronghuo of Xiahe village. This person is very hidden. His subordinates were fooled by him last time." Chen Ronghuo. Hearing Poison Shadow's answer, Zhou Yuanhua's pupils shrank immediately. He quickly thought of the talisman he had encountered by chance the last time he saw Chen Ronghuo, and felt slightly warm. "How strong is this person?" Zhou Yuanhua asked in a deep voice. "I don't know." Poison Shadow shook his head. "He didn't take action against his subordinates. It was his cat that injured my subordinate. The cat's cultivation should be the same as mine, but it is extremely powerful. In addition, Huang Lin from Xiahe village has reached the second level at an unknown time, and his strength is strange. Even in his prime, I am afraid that my subordinates are not his opponents. And Ho San, this person seems to have awakened some kind of bloodline and became a bloodline sorcerer." Zhou Yuanhua's pupils shrank when he heard this. A cat, plus Huang Lin, Ho San, and Huang Tai's Hung, this is already the combat power of 4 Earth-level warriors. Suan, Li Zhen. Suddenly, he thought of his 2 dead subordinates again. Thanks to Xuanhuan Jipping for the 500 coin reward, and the book Friend 0 Greedy Snake 0 for the 100 coin reward. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 110. Chen Ronghuo. Zhou Yuanhua didn't know how his two subordinates died before, but now, how could he still not know? Poison shadow. Suddenly, a cold light flashed in Zhou Yuanhua's eyes and he said, "Next, you will take charge of Angsha town for me, and I will go back to Lushwiven town to see Chen Ronghuo. Look at his strength." He did not dare to return to Lushwiven town before, but after learning that the enemy hidden in the dark was Chen Ronghuo, he was no longer as worried as before. Chen Ronghuo had to be sneaky even when he killed his two subordinates. Even if the strength is really strong, it must be limited. With his current strength, even if he cannot take back Greenwater Bay Town, he can still meet Chen Ronghuo and test out Chen Ronghuo's strength. After finishing his sentence, he glanced around, and when he saw the people below, their eyes flashed, and he said coldly, "After I leave, if anyone dares to rebel, you will unseal the poisonous body for the second time. After unsealing the poisonous body, you can exert your fighting power as a late second-level cultivator. If anyone dares to rebel, you can kill 10 people at will to serve as a warning to others. I know that you were seriously injured and unsealing the poisonous body for the second time has done a lot of harm to yourself, but I will definitely make up for it when I come back." As soon as Zhou Yuanhua finished speaking, everyone below looked at the poisonous shadow with a broken arm, and their eyes became awe-inspiring. Before this, no one thought that poison shadow could actually exert the fighting power of a late second-level cultivator. It's just that these people don't know that the second unsealing of the poisonous body is completely untrue. Poison Shadow's poisonous body had been destroyed after it was previously unsealed. From now on, Poison Shadow can't even think about going any further, let alone unblocking the poison body for the second time, or even cultivating himself. Zhou Yuanhua's words were simply made out of nothing and he was trying to scare them. "Don't worry, my lord, even if I die this time, I will protect Angsha town for your lord," Poison Shadow said with a solemn expression. Greenwater Bay Town. Master. After Chen Ronghuo took away the power of faith from Zhou Yuanhua's deified statue, Ho San immediately went forward to report, "There are more than 100 members of the Lushwiven town guards. Except for some who are stubborn, most of the others have been captured by me." He persuaded the village chief and agreed to join the young master. Others who were unwilling to surrender, as well as Zhou Yuanhua's relatives, were also controlled by us. There are also most of the patrol warriors in Greenwater Bay Town who are willing to join the young master. The entire Lushwiven town is as big as a small town, with nearly 10,000 people, so naturally there are more than 100 warriors. The guards of Greenwater Bay Town refer to the most elite warriors in Greenwater Bay Town. In addition, Greenwater Bay Town also has a patrol team. The members of the patrol team are all warriors and are usually responsible for patrolling Greenwater Bay Town. The warriors who were swept into the water by Shamuo's tornado before were all members of the patrol team. The members of the patrol team are much weaker than the guards. At the same time, it is different from Zhou Yuanhua's high-pressure method to conquer Angsha town. Ho San and Huang Taizheng came to Lushwiven town a month ago and became the commander and deputy commander of the Lushwiven town guards respectively. When Zhou Yuanhua was not in Lushwiven town, Poison Shadow escaped, and Zhou Yuanhua's deified statues were broken by Chen Ronghuo. Ho San and Huang Taizheng came forward. It didn't take long to kill Shui, who had no high-end combat power. Most of the warriors from Wan Town were conquered. Even the few warlocks in Greenwater Bay Town mostly expressed their surrender. Very good. Chen Ronghuo nodded, and then said, "But remember to be kind to Zhou Yuanhua's family and don't hurt them. Zhou Yuanhua's family is an important bargaining chip." He knew that once Zhou Yuanhua learned that they had done all this, he would most likely vent his anger on Ziahe village, which had not yet arrived. At that time, he could use Zhou Yuanhua's family members to replace him. Of course, if Zhou Yuanhua reacts too slowly, he can still use Zhou Yuanhua's family members to obtain a lot of benefits from him once he has Lushwiven town completely in his hands. Don't worry, sir, I know how to do it. Ho-san nodded. He naturally knew this matter well. After Ho-san left, Chen Ronghuo immediately came to Huang Tai's hung. At this time, Huang Tishan's whole body was swollen and purple-black. Although he could still suppress the poison with his strength as an earth warrior, he might not be able to do it if it took longer. Looking at Huang Tai's hung, he said, "Mr. Huang, thank you for your hard work this time. The matter was urgent just now, and I am here to expel the poison." "Thank you, sir," Huang Tai's hung said quickly. Chen Ronghuo nodded, then put his left hand on Huang Tai's hung and began to remove the poisonous properties from his body. This time, it may be because these poisonous attributes had just invaded Huang Tishan's body and were not deeply integrated with his body. In just a few minutes, Chen Ronghuo had taken out all the poisonous attributes in Huang Tishan's body. Without these poisons, with Huang Tishan's strength as an earth warrior, it won't take long for him to return to normal. After handling the matter, Chen Ronghuo once again walked to the pyromancer Zhu Qiang in Greenwater Baytown. Looking at Zhu Qiang, he smiled and said, "Master Zhu, I remember I said last time that you and I hit it off right away and will definitely meet again in the future. Look, this sentence has come true so quickly." Zhu Qiang smiled bitterly upon hearing this. He had said something similar before, but at that time he thought that the next time they met, Chen Ronghuo would join Zhou Yuanhua like him and work with him under Zhou Yuanhua. But he never thought that he would meet Chen Ronghuo again just 1 month later. But this time he met Chen Ronghuo under such circumstances. Chen Ronghuo actually took over Lushwiven town in front of him. "Mr. Chen is very skilled, I admire him." Zhu Qiang bowed to Chen Ronghuo and said, "I know Mr. Chen wants to subdue me, but our Lord has been very kind to me, I really can't betray him, so I hope you will forgive me." Chen Ronghuo raised his eyebrows. Compared with other people, Zhu Qiang can be said to be very strong-willed to reject him in this situation. He likes people with strong will. He likes loyal people, but such people are often more difficult to deal with. He said, "Master Zhu, a good bird chooses a tree to inhabit. I can give you some time to think about it. I hope you can make the right choice. A good bird chooses a tree. Who does it choose? You." At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded from a distance. Chen Ronghuo raised his head and immediately saw a white figure flying quickly from a distance. This white figure was Zhou Yuanhua. At the first sight of Zhou Yuanhua, Chen Ronghuo used the ancient book identification technique on him. It was very surprising that Zhou Yuanhua could advance so quickly. He wanted to see how Zhou Yuanhua succeeded in advancing. Zhou Yuanhua, Earth Disaster Inheritor, Second Stage Late Earth Disaster Warlock, Earth Warrior Middle Stage Warrior, Second Stage Early Water Warlock. He contracted the Earth Disaster Mother Worm and became the Earth Disaster Inheritor. Natural disasters and earth disasters are the two major laws of the world of gods, and the two major laws complement each other. Once a natural disaster inheritor kills an earth disaster inheritor, he can refine the earth disaster law into his body and obtain all the power of the earth disaster inheritor. At the same time, the earth disaster inheritor kills the natural disaster inheritor, and the same thing happens. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 111. Natural disaster, earth disaster? After identifying Zhou Yuanhua's attributes, Chen Ronghuo suddenly felt something in his heart. If he had not obtained the natural disaster flame, he would not have thought much about it. But now, he has almost no reason not to think about the natural disaster flames. The natural disaster demon flame is related to the natural disaster. Can I be considered the inheritor of the natural disaster? Just thinking about it, Chen Ronghuo was mostly sure in his heart. As his strength increased, the ancient book's ability became stronger and stronger, and it gradually seemed as if a new consciousness, one dominated by him, was about to be born. If the inheritor of the earthly disaster has nothing to do with him, I am afraid that this time the appraisal will not show the last sentence in the ancient book. So, if he is the inheritor of natural disasters, what will happen if he kills Zhou Yuanhua and refines the law of earthly disasters into his body? Will the natural disaster demon flame advance, or will he master another law? Of course, he still doesn't know what the law is. But he knew what it meant to obtain Zhou Yuanhua's full power. That means that he can advance quickly and reach the late second level. He can even train Zhou Yuanhua, and then kill him to gain more power after Zhou Yuanhua becomes stronger. Taking a deep breath, Chen Ronghuo locked eyes with Zhou Yuanhua. Looking at Chen Ronghuo, Zhou Yuanhua said coldly, "You hide it well. If I had known that you had evil intentions towards our Green Water Bay town, I should have killed you the last time I saw you." Chen Ronghuo patted the back of Fat Mao, who was next to Zhou Yuanhua the moment he appeared, and said with a smile, "Kill me? In your current state, can you kill me?" Does he know? When Zhou Yuanhua heard this, his pupils suddenly tightened. The last time he saw Chen Ronghuo, he was extremely weak because he was refining the talisman he encountered by chance. He always thought that he had hidden this matter well, but he did not expect that Chen Ronghuo had already seen it. With just one word, Zhou Yuanhua exposed his flaw in front of Chen Ronghuo. This is caused by mental confusion caused by mental flaw. You are so bold, you actually dare to come alone when you know that your deified statue has been broken by me? Aren't you afraid that I will kill you? Also, have you finished handling the matter in Angsha town? Wu Ji is loyal to you. You have just convinced others, are they also so loyal to you? Also, what about Poison Shadow? He unsealed the poisonous body and temporarily increased his strength to the late second level. You won't leave him in Red Sand Town, right? Chen Ronghuo also spoke word by word, without any rush or delay, but it made Zhou Yuanhua's heart become more and more irritable. He can become a lord, and can achieve today's achievements with the most ordinary qualifications, and naturally he has a good mind. But Chen Ronghuo's words were like knives. Every time, it pierced the weakest points in his heart. He couldn't figure it out. I can't figure out how Chen Ronghuo knows everything. In particular, Poison Shadow's name was obviously only known to him before this. How did Chen Ronghuo know all this? He looked at Chen Ronghuo and remembered Chen Ronghuo's appearance deeply in his heart. Now he knows nothing about Chen Ronghuo. But Chen Ronghuo seemed to know him well, which made his fear of Chen Ronghuo reach the extreme. After a while, he suddenly said, "When I came here, I went to Xiahe village. Poison Shadow is not in Angsha town now, but I stayed in Xiahe village." As soon as Zhou Yuanhua's words came out, Huang Taizheng and Ho San's expressions changed slightly. This is their biggest concern. Xiahe village is a Achilles heel for them. Only Huang Lin had a strange look on his face. Ha 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 ha. At the same time, Chen Ronghuo suddenly laughed when he heard this. "Are you sure you went to Xiahe village? If you really went to Xiahe village, you should be a dead person now." Having said this, Chen Ronghuo's face straightened. He looked at Zhou Yuanhua seriously and said, "Or is it because my eyesight is not good? In fact, you are already dead." He knew that what he had just said had indeed upset Zhou Yuanhua's heart. Zhou Yuanhua said that he went to Xiahe village originally to arouse his emotions, but Zhou Yuanhua did not know that Chen Ronghuo had made arrangements for Xiahe village before coming to Lushwiven town. He had already asked Zhu Daipen and Li Haishui, as well as everyone in Xiahe village, to rush to Lushwiven town as quickly as possible. If Zhou Yuanhua only said that he went to Xiahe village, Chen Ronghuo might still hesitate, but Zhou Yuanhua went the extra mile and said that he left the poisonous shadow in Xiahe village. How could he not know that Zhou Yuanhua was lying? There was no one in Xiaohe village at this time. Why did Zhou Yuanhua leave Poison Shadow in Xiaohe village? Chatting with his big river crab. As soon as Chen Ronghuo's words came out, Zhou Yuanhua's expression immediately changed slightly. His expression changed not only because Chen Ronghuo exposed his lie, but also because of the meaning revealed in Chen Ronghuo's words. Chen Ronghuo said that if he went to Xiaohe village, he would be dead. What does this mean? Could it be said that before this, Chen Ronghuo had already laid a trap in Xiaohe village, waiting for him to fall into the trap? He didn't know if Chen Ronghui was deceiving him or if it was true. But he knew that after Chen Ronghuo said this, he would definitely not rashly go to Xiaohe village. And this was obviously Chen Ronghuo's strategy. He took a deep breath. So far, he has not tested Chen Ronghuo's strength, but he really felt Chen Ronghuo's means. But he also knew a truth, that is, people with many means are often not very strong. If he was strong and could easily destroy himself, then why would Chen Ronghuo use so many means to control his emotions? Awesome, thinking of this, he narrowed his eyes slightly and said, I just don't know if your strength is as powerful as your mouth. After the words fell, his eyes suddenly turned dark red, full of brutality. On his arms and many parts of his body, black barbs grew out, making him look like a human-shaped beast. Zhou Yuanhua. Special Ability 1, Breath of Disaster. This is the source of power of the inheritor of the earth disaster, and the breath contains many attributes such as disaster, destruction, and devouring. Special Ability 2, Body Alienation, can transform part of the body into insects, thus possessing powerful strength, speed, and defense. Special Ability 3, Radiation Absorption. The inheritor of the earth disaster can radiate the weak vitality of the underground insects through the breath of disaster, causing them to mutate, have extremely strong destructive power, and devour plant roots everywhere to absorb vitality. When necessary, the inheritor of the disaster can absorb the vitality of all mutated insects and store it in his body, so as to speed up the practice and quickly recover from physical injuries. The vitality currently in his body can enable him to quickly regenerate broken limbs 10 times in a short period of time. Ability 1, Refining Secret Treasures and Weapons. Ability 2, Control of Water. Ability 3. When Zhou Yuanhua was about to take action, Chen Ronghuo's eyes flashed, and he once again identified Zhou Yuanhua's attributes. This time, he mainly identified Zhou Yuanhua's various special abilities. Boom! After the transformation, Zhou Yuanhua moved his body and rushed straight to Chen Ronghuo. Whoosh! At the same time, Huanglin, who had been following Chen Ronghuo from beginning to end, also flashed his body, with a lot of shadows, and stopped Zhou Yuanhua. Zhou Yuanhua didn't want to get entangled with Huanglin. He shook his feet and crushed a large piece of bricks and stones, trying to bypass Huanglin and continue to rush towards Chen Ronghuo. But Huanglin's steps were extremely strange. He left many after-images under his feet, like a shadow following him, following Zhou Yuanhua closely, as fast as lightning, but no sound came out, mysterious and unpredictable. Zhou Yuanhua frowned. A cultivator with a cultivation level 2 levels lower than his own can actually keep up with his speed. Whoosh! The fat cat followed closely, and when he raised his claws, there was a wind blade that was condensed to the extreme, as if it cut through the space, and flew to Zhou Yuanhua in the blink of an eye. Zhou Yuanhua half turned his head, looked at the wind blade, and exhaled a breath of black and grey air from his mouth, which actually directly melted the wind blade. Then he glanced at Huanglin, who was following him closely, his eyes flashed with cold light, and his body suddenly changed from extremely active to extremely quiet. His elbow covered with black barbs swung back instantly and swung straight to Huanglin's front. He had just obtained the inheritance of the earth disaster not long ago, and only his cultivation and strength had been improved. He had not yet mastered other powerful secrets, but his rich combat experience was beyond the reach of Fat Cat and Xuanlin. Hiss hiss hiss. Seeing Zhou Yuanhua's attack coming, Xuanlin's dark pupils shrank, and he hurriedly raised his hand, forming a strange mark, and used the shadow snake bite technique that he had used against Du Ying before, and shot out snake shadows, which hit Zhou Yuanhua from all directions. Boom! Facing Xuanlin's attack, Zhou Yuanhua's body shook, and suddenly a stronger black and grey aura rose. These auras seemed to be the billowing black smoke rising after a volcanic eruption, full of a sense of burning and destruction. With just one touch, all the snake shadows shot by Xuanlin were devoured. Seeing Zhou Yuanhua's strength, Xuanlin's eyes suddenly turned dim, and his body immediately accelerated to retreat. But this time, Xuanlin retreated, and Zhou Yuanhua's speed was one step faster. His body was rioting, and he pressed forward step by step, as if he wanted to take down a general under Chen Ronghuo before fighting with Chen Ronghuo. Whoosh! The fat cat beside Chen Ronghuo shot out a second wind blade at this time. Then its body flashed, and it turned into a stream of light and rushed straight to Zhou Yuanhua. At the same time, Ho San and Huang Taizheng, who had recovered a little, saw that Zhou Yuanhua was so fierce, and they also wanted to go forward to besiege Zhou Yuanhua, but they were stopped by Chen Ronghuo. After identifying Zhou Yuanhua's attributes, especially the radiation absorption in Zhou Yuanhua's special ability, he knew that it would be unlikely for him to kill Zhou Yuanhua this time. Rapidly regenerating 10 times after breaking off a limb, how can this be killed? Chen Ronghuo guessed that if he cut off Zhou Yuanhua's head now, he would immediately grow another body. However, if he could kill Zhou Yuanhua, would he be able to obtain these abilities? Boom! Just as Chen Ronghuo was thinking about this, as the fat cat approached and grabbed Zhou Yuanhua's back with one claw, Zhou Yuanhua's eyes flashed with cold light, but he did not dodge or avoid it. When he turned around suddenly, his bony big hand, shaped like the 9 yin claws, grabbed the fat cat's head. He wanted to fight hard, use his special ability, and kill fat cat first. Thanks to the book friend, equals, for the 1000 coin reward.